Hello everybody, I'm Waddles. I hope you're doing well today, as I am absolutely 124.5% sure you've heard already, villages are changing. And by villages, I also mean villagers. Villagers are getting a total reskin, and even a few new professions. Now, all of this fancy village revamp talk has made its way into most of the Minecraft biomes. However, not quite all. So far, there are a couple biomes that received brand new villager skins, but unfortunately, no new village. And one of those biomes is the swamp biome. Villagers spawned in the swamp biomes now have brand new swamp-themed outfits, but when looking around the swamp, you will find absolutely no village in sight. That's a big problem to me, so today we're aiming to change just that fact. I went ahead and got my building blocks out, my idea gears turning, and came up with what I think a swamp village could look like if that were to be a thing, which it unfortunately will not be. The devs have gone on record and said that some biomes have new villagers, but no villages are planned. So if you enjoy this video, drop a like and subscribe, and check the description for more of my own links. This video was inspired by System Z's Jungle Village revamp video, so I will leave that in the description as well. Big shout out to System. Aha, so I think it's about time we break away from those noisy villagers and take a look at what I have come up with. Now, I did try to follow a theme with this village here, and I, of course, tried to make a little bit of a story that we will be going over as well for these villagers. I don't really have a good starting point in this village, so I figured we'd start over here near this farm and then work through the village slowly. I have designed a lot of different buildings, but not every profession's building. Starting off right here, we have a wonderful little stone cutter hut. I figured, the swamps are a warm environment, so we might as well go open with some of the builds and leave things, out in the open air. That's, of course, what open means. So, this is a prime example of that idea that I had. I also tried to stick with swamp-based materials, which means oak and cobblestone, but I did bring in some spruce wood in these builds just because it matches oak wood so well. This is one of the only builds that features some andesite as well. But moving on past this little stonecutter hut to this wonderful swampland. I thought it would be a cool idea to incorporate this marshy part of the swamp in the village in some way, and to me this looks like it would be the perfect type of spot for a farm. Now, I decided beetroots would look really cool in the swamp because, they need to be somewhere, right? So I went with beetroots and figured, we'll just kind of spill these all out over this area. Now, in real life, is this practical? Probably not, unless you want tons of mosquitoes in your food or something like that. Yep, probably not practical, but that's good. Moving on, we have what I'm calling small house number 1. This is a house on stilts because, we have lots of water everywhere and we probably don't want water in the house. And I did go with some green terracotta here, which is not found in the swamp biome. Kind of. We'll get into that a little bit, but yep, not really found in the swamp biome, of course. Now, again, the whole open feel, I didn't really want a normal door here, so I went the trap door, again, to make it open. Then, of course, I went with a green bed, and then a chest, which I imagine would have some randomized swamp village-themed loot. We do have a little staircase kind of connecting up to this thing. Now, if you take a look at the whole village, I went with coarse dirt as my path block because I figured, path blocks are so overdone and too basic, so it's time to get creative here. Now, alongside the paths, I have sprinkled in some lanterns because I'm kind of obsessed with lanterns. I probably went a little overkill, so yeah, but at least it's going to be bright. Now, right here, I have a small little smoker area. Of course, up top, I have a campfire to actually create the smoke. Again, this is a prime example of what I'm talking about with the open theme of this warm, humid biome. But swinging alongside this barrel building, this building would be the Fisher Shack. This building is a little larger and a little more complex. I had some fun with the roof line here. I thought that was really cool. But if we head in the front door, we'll find another smoker inside attached to a chimney, and then some barrels, of course, because the barrel represents the fisherman. Now, over here, we have a door, another open door, out to a fishing dock that just kind of looks out into the swamp lake. Over here, I decided to create some clay piles. This is part of the story of the swamp village. I figured maybe the swamp villagers decided to settle here to collect up the abundant clay that exists in this biome that is usually pretty easy to find. I mean, look at the bottom of this lake. There is tons of clay everywhere, so yeah, maybe this is what the villagers are out to collect. And perhaps, because they are collecting clay, they figured out how to make terracotta somehow, and also bricks. So that's how I'm justifying the use of those blocks into these builds, because terracotta is kind of like clay. Not really, but kind of, okay? Now over here we have a small little dock, perhaps for sailing out into the lake to collect that clay, or just to fish at a better spot, because this fishing dock over here, the small one, is just really not that great at all. But closing the door and heading over here, we have what I'm calling small house number 2. This is a slight variation on this first small house over here. Of course, I swapped the roof out and the walls. So over here, we have mossy stone brick stairs and stone brick stairs. Of course, lots of moss on these builds. If you're taking a look at everything that I've done, lots of it, because the swamp has tons of vines, and I would assume a lot of moss as well. But heading up into this build, we'll find a light gray bed, and then again a randomized loot chest. But let's just pretend there is one green terracotta and one clay in this chest. Oh yeah, we hit the jackpot. But each village kind of has its own color theme, and I decided the theme for the swamp would be light gray to match the clay, and then green to match this terracotta and the overall greenness of this biome. So that's kind of what I'm going with these colors. Heading back down this road towards the smoker place and hanging a sharp left to see the wonderful centerpiece. I decided, with the abundance of mushrooms growing in this biome, and there are none to be seen over here, but, I spoke too soon. You see how mushrooms generate in this biome? I decided to incorporate that into the village in some way and create a giant brown mushroom that is the centerpiece. Of course, we'll find a bell on a stripped wood block, and then some tables lying around here, which I thought was kind of cool as well. Now, if this were generating and you decided to dig up the tables, you would find a redstone block below them. I decided to place some sticky piston tables down because this is the biome that is home to the swamp mob, so perhaps the villagers harvested up the slime and I don't know, they're eating it. I don't know if that could be very nutritious or anything like that, but I have no clue. And then finally, to wrap off the centerpiece, I decided that we needed a little flag, so here we go, just a few green banners sitting on a stripped pole. Now, right over here, this building is another variant on that first small house. It's pretty much identical, it's just been rotated, so really not too much else to say about this one. Just another small house here, but yep. So, moving on to this road right here. Now, again, the openness comes in on this build. This is the village library. I have a small little planter box outside of it because I thought that would look nice. And then in the library, we have a lectern, a hidden loot chest, and it's not really hidden, but a hidden loot chest, and then another lectern. So this is where the librarian would live, out in the open, in the wild, and I really like how this one turned out with the roof line being a little more creative, and then, yeah, just an open feel altogether. I thought with builds like this in the swamp biome, you would get a really nice small town, small village type of feel, walking down this road and seeing, an open village, and imagining the librarian would actually stay in his house. We'd have the librarian here ready to trade with you for maybe some mending if we're really, really lucky, but we probably wouldn't be. So we'll move on to the next building. This building right here is maybe one of my favorites. We have a chimney with actual smoke on the outside here. I'm just kind of playing with some illusion here because from a ways away this almost looks like it's a solid thing, but it is absolutely not. There is a fireplace sitting inside of this thing that we actually can't access from the inside of the build. But going inside of the build, we will find some blast furnaces lying around. So this is some sort of armorer or weaponsmith's house with the blast furnaces, and then an anvil too. Now, another randomized loot chest with a sticky piston this time. That's absolutely crazy. And then, yep, just a chimney. The fire is hidden in here somewhere. Yep, right there. So can't really see that from the inside, but you do get the smoke effect. Lots of green in this one. I thought that was kind of cool, and I got a little creative, I think, with the roof here. Did some oak trapdoors, and, you know, I have the moss from the top of the build showing through. But yeah, just pretty much a standard house here. Not too much going on. Just a nice, fun little house. And then, ending off this road, we have the shepherd's house over here. Now, I am probably pretty sure that, yep, that is not a shepherd. But somebody is living here, a nitwit it looks like. But yeah, so we have an L-shaped house with a porch over here. Now, there was a sheep over in this thing at some point, but I'm not sure at all where that sheep could have made its way off to. Now, inside we will find a loom, because of course that's what the shepherd does, a chest, and then another loom. So not really too much going on in here. I thought about adding a bed in here, but I don't know if every house should have a bed. Well, I guess they should, right? The villagers might have a new schedule soon, but yep, no bed in there or anything like that. I did have fun with this floor here, though, and then again, the roof line. I had a lot of fun doing these more creative house shapes and just types of builds that I usually would not do. Back over here at the town square, we have a small planter box that I would imagine would kind of randomly generate around the town. It would have podzol and mushrooms in it, like the villagers are doing something with those mushrooms. Now, over here we have a dock, because of course the swamp has lots and lots of water. I figured that the swamp villages would need some sort of dock in here, because you never know with the village generation, it can be crazy. Maybe we would have a village over here generating on two sides of this area, so we'd need an official bridge path. So that's what I tried to do over here. Again, very, very swamp themed, tons of oak, and I think it ended up pretty nicely. But going up this tall, tall staircase to probably my favorite build. This building would be another weaponsmith, toolsmith, or maybe mason building. Inside, we have tons of new blocks. We have some blast furnaces, a hanging grindstone, and an attached outside stonecutter build that is the same thing as the one way over on the other side of the town that we saw first, but just attached to this building. I had so much fun doing this one. I thought this was really, really cool. We even have a bed in here as well, and the build has a nice view out over this lake, which I thought was kind of cool, kind of nice. Again, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think this ended up really, really nicely, and this is probably my favorite building that I came up with. But it's just about time to finish up with our final 2 or 3 buildings, kind of. So another small generic house, just a bed and a chest in here, nothing to really talk about with it. It does have an oak roof this time instead of, you know, the stone-based roofs. And then over here, we have another small little building. Now, this one is the cartographer building. We have a chest, a cartography table, and then a small little balcony out here because I have no clue, honestly. I don't know why a cartographer would keep a sheep, but this cartographer is keeping a sheep. I also decided to hang a lantern in this top window instead of go for like glass or anything like that because I thought that looked really, really cool and nice. And then finally, of course, an animal pen. Now, I thought it would be kind of an interesting twist to have these animal pens in the swamp villages spawning with slime in them instead of cows or chickens or something like that, right? So perhaps these villagers, while collecting up clay, are also researching or farming slime. Slime mobs don't have any preconceived notions or opinions on the villagers, so they will just kind of ignore them. They won't hurt them or target them or anything like that, so this really wouldn't cause a problem at all. This also could be an interesting way for players to come across the slime mob, a mob that is a little bit more rare, a mob that some beginner players may not even realize exists in the game. But that just about cuts it for my swamp village. I don't know, I had so much fun designing this village, doing the village, and yeah, it just was nice to get my brain working, trying to come up with a simple small village that looked like it would belong in the game, but isn't quite in the game. What do you think? Do you like my village idea? How would you do a swamp village? If you're interested, build your best swamp village and send me a screenshot on Twitter. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me redesign another biome village, make sure you leave a like and maybe even a comment asking for that down below. If I have any tweets with village redesign ideas, I'll pick my favorite and put it in a part 2 if I do decide to make one. which I hope you guys would love to see, because I would absolutely love to wrap my mind around a different biome, perhaps a different style, just something like that. My name is Waddles. Thank you for watching. Go have a good day. Goodbye, everybody.